Now I'm going to say this though, and I'm going to be very specific about this. You know, I am not so committed to this that I'm going to ram this through one county or the other, okay? There needs to be some consensus as to that this is a good idea, or I won't do it. I will not pass the bill, even though I don't need your votes to pass the bill. I don't need even the local delegation's votes to pass the bill if we do it as a general bill. But I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it because you think, and because the people on the PSTA board think, that it makes sense for the folks that we represent in these two counties. I have no preconceived notions as to who should dominate it, whether it, you know, I don't think it ought to be dominated by one county or the other county. I just think that we ought to go in good faith and try to figure out if there is a plan that would work for both counties. Now, I'm one of the few legislators, maybe, no, there's two of us, that represent both Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. And so, you know, you're all my people. And, you know, I'm looking for something that makes sense for both counties. And again, if I don't get consensus, at least leadership consensus, majority of these boards, then we're not going to do it. But I will tell you, do not come to me to support an increase in the millage cap on either side of the debate, because I won't do it.
Your side has not done the financial analysis to see what exactly estimated savings that could be between merging both organizations then?
Well, I don't have a side, first of all, but I have asked an independent group, which I'm not going to say who it is. There's no public record documents been produced or anything like that at this point. I've asked a business group, actually, that includes members from both sides of the debate, to kind of give me a ballpark estimate of what the savings might be. Maybe that it's, you know, if it's not a significant savings, maybe then we'd be barking up the wrong tree.
I believe currently our charter allows us to include, we are a regional transit authority here at HART, and I believe we could add an adjacent county or contiguous county. So I believe there may be a mechanism, and maybe.
Well, your charter would not abrogate the local bill that sets up the PSTA.
Right. Well,
so we would have to do a statute that that would allow that PSTA's demise, so to speak. But I don't think that's the proper way of approaching it, to have Pinellas join Hillsborough. This is not about one county joining the other, it's about both coming together. And that's from a sales standpoint. I mean, that's why I say I have no preconceived notions about who runs this, who's on the board, where the office is, which kind of buses we use, anything like that.
Right. And then, and I agree with your comment about Citrus County being, you know, different from Hillsborough. But I would also have to say that I believe that Hillsborough and Pinellas are two very different counties. If you look at the demographics, Pinellas County is on average 10 years older than Hillsborough. Pinellas has 3 times the population density that Hillsborough has. Pinellas is mostly urban and suburban versus Hillsborough is rural. And so we have, I think, different needs as a county. The second thing I would say is, if you look at our charter, we're capped at 0.5 mils, and currently Pinellas is considering 0.73 mils. So I think there's going to be a big uproar, so to speak, if you try and you know, through this merger, you know, raise Hillsborough.
Absolutely not. We would have no, we would not try to raise one county's taxes above the others to get this done.
And then if you look at the paratransit trips, which is costing HART about $37 per trip, we have 100,000 roughly per year, as opposed to Pinellas County, who has 3 times that, 300,000 paratransit trips.
What do their trips cost them per trip?
They're a lot lower. They are
That
lower.
might be an advantage for them.
Right, and that's something in our workshop. That's something in our workshop.
Yeah, the geographic travel patterns.
You know, I understand that there are differences in the counties, and I understand there's a lot of reasons to think of not to do a plan like this. But I also understand, because I have to go back and forth across the bridge and serve in my district, that every day in the morning and in the afternoon, that bridges and the causeways are full of people going from Pinellas to Hillsborough or Hillsborough to Pinellas to work.
Right.
And so they have that in common. You know, whether they have age in common or density in common, they got a lot of people. It used to be the other way around. It used to be mostly coming from Pinellas to Tampa to work, and then going home to Pinellas in the afternoon. It is not that way anymore, because you know, you try to come across the Howard Franklin Bridge at 4:30 in the afternoon, and there are days when it's backed up all the way to the Pinellas side. So
Right, I've made that commute,
Right.
and we did discuss this briefly in our workshop, and Dr. Polzine had pulled up some numbers, and we do have all 3 bridges. We do have bus routes, and we've got a very nice federal grant that it helps with the 3 bridges, and it's got the premium Wi-Fi service.
But they're run
the
by
data,
different agencies, and is the
Well-
marketing consistent that you would have to fill those buses up if it was only one agency? Would you have the advantage of the economies of scale, so to speak, in marketing those 3 trips if they were the same agency doing it?
well, in the data that we saw in the workshop, there were currently 25 Hillsborough County residents who actually use transit as their way over the bridge, and I believe it was either 75 or 85. So, I mean, there's you know, obviously, if someone wants to do a report, I think it, you know, would be something the board ought to look at and
Well, I
consider.
would think that you, with your past record of protecting the taxpayers' dollars, would want every single opportunity to try to save money and duplication of waste in government agencies.
Quite the contrary. I'm very happy to learn that PSTA and HART already work together in their fuel purchases. We buy jointly. I believe we merge with Lakeland, and we enjoy some quantity discount savings, as well as state co-op for our vehicles. So I'm not sure I'm seeing where the efficiencies might come from.
You know, and I'm not going to pick on people here, but you know, they both got attorneys. Okay, for one thing, they both got executive staff. For the second thing, up until recently, they both had lobbyists. I would bet you that you have public relations or communications people who work for HART, and I know we have multiple ones that work for PSTA. You know, it's just common sense that when you merge 2 organizations, you're going to have savings and consolidation of some of the overhead parts of those organizations. This is the first meeting that I've had with any group like this. I think, is it tomorrow I'm going to PSTA?
Yes.
Okay. But that's not the full PSTA board. I think that's just their legislative committee. And so I'm sure sometime in the next month I'll be going to the PSTA board, and I'll, you know, be hearing some things from them. We'll be working on the draft, and you know, we'll just sort of, I will keep you advised, and we will keep you, you know, we're going to all be in the loop on this. You're not going to wake up one day and read in the Tribune or the Times, you know, here's my plan, and a bill will be filed that's going to be passed. We've got 4 months before the start of session, 6 months before the end of session, and if we can't get it done in 6 months, we always got next year, because I do plan on being back.
I just make mine quick. I come from the business world. That's where I cut my teeth. I've done it for a long time. And I'm really concerned that we have moved this far along, that it's in the papers, it's talked about, that there's a real fear out there between both sides. And yet, from what you're telling us here tonight, the numbers haven't even been worked yet. I know of no major corporation that would ever consider a merger, but at least looking at the books and doing an audited comparison to see what's there, it just seems to me like we're moving in the wrong. I understand that putting 2 agencies together sounds like it would save money,
I think you missed the part that I said about this is gonna be subject to agreement. You know, so we've got a ways to go yet, but we're gonna have, you know, agreement in order to do this. It's not gonna come down the pipe without agreement. Unfortunately, in Florida, senators don't have the budget to hire auditors. You know, we don't have the budget for auditing. We don't have the budget for a lot of these things. It's kind of a one man and three aides. And we've got to try to pull this together.
So.
And it's a part-time
At this
job.
point, then, we're working on perception.
We're working, no, I think I explained all this. I said I have a
That's all right.
draft.
If you've explained it, you've explained it.
I said I had a draft in the works that I have the staff of the Senate Transportation Committee working on. I have an independent business group that's going to give me a horseback idea of what they think we can save, not audited, but a horseback idea. And if that number is not high enough, then, you know, hey, you keep your agency over here, and you keep your board, and you figure out what your future is. And if it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to roll over you. I said that right up front. So
I didn't say anything that you would. I'm saying that I think you need to look at the numbers
you know,
first to see the possibilities.
We are looking at the numbers, but there's nothing wrong with, you know, me expressing some ideas and get some discussion going. You know, too often people bring in finished products, sort of like the Expressway Authority bill was brought and presented to us as a finished product, but nobody in Hillsborough County really having any input in it whatsoever. I'm giving you input, that's why I'm here.
I guess and I'll finish it with this, and then we won't have to hear from you anymore on it, but basically, as of this meeting tonight, this is the first opportunity we've even had to voice. We have had to have meetings working on what the newspaper told us up to now. And yet.
What's your point, okay? I mean, what's the point? I had a hip replacement this summer. I'm sorry that I wasn't here a month ago, okay? But I'm here tonight, and we've got 4 months until the legislative session starts. We've got 6 months until the end of the legislative session, and we're here to start talking about ideas. I'm here. I'm here before I go to Pinellas County. So, you know, you're going back to why didn't I do it another way? Because I'm a dumb okay? So just leave it at that.
Talked to our staff about it, gathered data from our staff, made us a part of the conversation.
Actually, I have talked to your staff about it. Came over here and talked to your executive director at that time about it, and did gather some data about it, and have talked to some individual local government people about it in Hillsborough. I mean, this is not, you know, this is not the, I mean, you know, but being a Florida State Senator is a part-time job. I also have a business to run, and we're doing it as quick as we can, and if it's not quick enough for you, and if I did it wrong, and if it's not quick enough way,